The San Jose Sharks have been busy in the trade market, and now with the draft, JD Young of Locked On Sharks stops by to talk about that. I'm Gil Martin of Locked On NHL. With me, Brandon Pillar, to break down all the prospects from Locked On Senators. JD, your thoughts on the trade and the pick?
I love the trade from the Sharks' perspective. They had no second-round picks after trading their second-round pick for Adin Hill last year. And then, so I love that getting, especially with the draft where you saw a lot of guys tumbling down, trying to get some value there. And so acquiring 2 draft picks in the second round, which they, like I said, they didn't have. I thought that was great. The pick itself, I'm trying to wrap my head around it because I've been very much on the Brad Lambert train. And I thought Brad Lambert, there's a ton of red flags with Lambert, but the potential of what he could be, and especially at pick 27 there, it's a swing for the fences, but with having 3 picks and, literally 15 picks, you could take a swing there. And yeah, I'm sure, Filip Bystedt, he's going to be a fine player, but I'm still just trying to wrap my head around not picking Brad Lambert.
Brandon, what does Filip add to this Sharks organization?
Well, he's a centerman that has a lot of size. He's at 6'4" already, 187 pounds, and he's playing in the SHL. So he's got some pro experience, and he's someone that Tony Ferrari referenced. He uses his size more for reach and puck protection rather than being like a heavy hitter or anything like that. I feel like he's more of a defense first type player. He's going to be effective in a bottom 6 penalty killing role. JD, I can kind of understand your disappointment though, because in our rankings that we did for Locked On Senators, we have him ranked 57th, so a little bit lower down the list. And as a Sens fan, I'm aware of reaching in that opportunity. But I just think, like you said, I would have liked to see the Sharks try to take a bigger swing on upside, because although I think Bystedt is a fine player, there's not one defining attribute that I'm looking at for him that really says, wow, you can bank on that he's going to be able to make it to the pros with these skills, because he's a big guy that needs to work on his skating. And I think it's going to be a bit of a longer development path for him, which I guess for the Sharks is fine. They're not really in a rush, but I was expecting something a little bit bigger here with them trading back, being like, okay, we've got Lambert in our sights and we can still try to hit a big swing here.
Yeah, if they had traded back, acquired more picks, and then drafted Brad Lambert, I would be talking about how the Sharks might have won the draft from tonight. But, like you said, where he's a big guy, but he doesn't really use his size very well. And it feels like he's not very physical, and this does feel like a reach. And, there was, I think, better talented players that they could have picked at 27. And I know the development program, they do the Sharks development does a really good job with their players and stuff. But at the same time, you're trying to win a cup, and I don't know. It feels like the Sharks have a lot of these middle 6 guys in their prospect pool, and you just added another middle 6 guy where you had a chance to potentially get a top 6 guy with the Brad Lambert. So,
what do you think the Sharks will be doing from here on in? You picked up the extra second round picks. What do you think they're looking for?
They're definitely. I would be shocked if one of these 2 first picks in the top of the second, if they don't come away with the defenseman. Mike Grier said they wanted to try to add some more size to their defense prospects. They have Gannon LaRocque as a 4th round pick from last year, who's a big kid who really kind of blew up this year for them. But they have Ryan Merkley, who's played some NHL games, and then they have some other guys who, like your Knizovs and guys who kind of smaller on the defensive end. It sounds like Mike Grier wants to try to add some size. I expect them to add to the blue line with one of these first 2 picks.
And your thoughts about the hiring of Mike Grier?
I'm for it. It's pretty exciting with him. One, I'm a Dolphins fan, so it's kind of cool to have the Grier brothers just running my favorite teams. But, he's very well liked in the hockey community. I know there is the question of doesn't have the most experience in the world. He has 1 year where he was working for the Rangers in the front office, but he seems like a straight shooter. I came away from his press conference really impressed with, the way he kind of handled himself and the way he answered the questions. And I think a very interesting thing he said was sometimes you got to take a step back to take 2 steps forwards. And the Sharks organization has been very much, we're not rebuilding. And so maybe this is the year where they're like, hey, if we take a couple steps back here, try to, acquire some top tier talent and maybe try to figure out our cap situation, we could be looking to compete here in a couple of years. So.
All right, JD, thanks so much for joining us. And for more on the Sharks, follow JD and Locked On Sharks.
Thanks, guys.